You know, I want to start today's show by wishing a very special guy, and I do mean special in every sense of the word, by wishing a very special guy a very, very happy birthday. Yes, that's right. Today we celebrate the 82nd year of existence for one Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., President of the United States of America. Man, I can't even tell you, 82 years. That seems like a lot of years, doesn't it? 82 years for Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. And I feel like the best way to celebrate Joe Biden's birthday is by having him sing happy birthday to himself.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, and I know. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, he didn't sing to himself. He sang to Alan. But that's just what he does. It's like a placeholder name. When he doesn't remember anyone's name, which is all the time, he just says, happy birthday, dear Alan, which could be Joe Biden. He could be saying that. You never really know with that guy. But anyway, happy birthday, Joe Biden. It's a big celebration. It's a big celebration. I don't know what he's going to do for his birthday, but I know what he's not going to do for his birthday. Govern. For his birthday, he's going to send. He's not going to get any gifts, but he's going to give Ukraine more missiles to fire into Russia so that he can fully start World War III before he dips out of all. That's very, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Also, we have to talk about what's going on with President Trump and his star-studded cabinet, because President Trump is creating a truly star-studded cabinet. It's amazing. It's amazing how amazing this cabinet has become and how quickly it's becoming. Well, amazing. And yesterday, President Trump took a bunch of his cabinet members and his friends and his cohorts, and he went to see the rocket liftoff, the Starship liftoff with Elon Musk. It was so very exciting, and it was exhilarating, and everyone that was there just thought it would. Look, here they all are staring up at the sky. There's Don Jr. and Ted Cruz and a bunch of other people, and they're all looking up at the rocket as it takes off toward the stratosphere, just like President Trump's administration is set to do. There's Elon Musk, the man himself, co-chair of Doge, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX. Of course, he's the rocket man. And there's President Trump he's looking over his landscape. This is the world. This is his realm now. And much like these rockets go into the stratosphere, America will soon be blasting off into amazingness once again and awesomeness. Just like we had it before Joe Biden took office. But listen, before we get into the cabinet stuff, I would like to share this special message from Sunny Hostin on The View. This was a special message. That's tough to say. This was a special message that Sunny Hostin on The View was required to read yesterday by the ABC legal department, and I'm all for that.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism, that DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, you will. Isn't that great? I love watching the ladies on The View be forced to read legal statements like they're hostages, being forced to tell their family back home that they're okay. I am okay. My captors are feeding me and taking care of me. All I want is for you to give them the money and meet their demands so that I can come back home. That's exactly how she read that.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
And then they cut to commercials so that Sunny can go and vomit. Because that's exactly how reading that thing made her feel. Look, it's amazing to me that Matt Gaetz is under this kind of an attack, because every time they attack somebody in Donald Trump's orbit, every time they attack somebody that's part of the Trump campaign or the administration or the White House or really the Republican Party, it just means that person is probably the best suited person for the job. Because if a pick or a choice or an attorney general or a Republican lawmaker is palatable to your average, everyday, ordinary, socialist, crazy, lunatic liberal, then they're obviously not going to be the right person. You don't want to appease liberals. You want them to be angry and upset with your choices, because that means that your choices are not going to be part of this uniparty deep state mentality of reaching across the aisle and trying to make deals and keeping everybody copacetic. No, they're going to be doing their job, which is rooting out evil and corruption in the highest branches of our government and our agencies, and making sure that lawfare, the way we've seen it over the past 4 years, can never exist again in the United States of America. And who better for that than Matt Gaetz? We'll get into the Matt Gaetz thing here in just a minute, because there's some exciting news about that. But first, Caroline Leavitt she returned to TV. You know, she's now the press secretary for the administration, after doing a bang-up job. Just did a great job as press secretary for the campaign. She got that promotion, and listen to what she said about the cabinet and how it's coming together.
President Trump is putting together a brilliant cabinet of fantastic America First fighters, from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to cut the waste out of our federal bureaucracy, to Susie Wiles, who is going to serve as the first female chief of staff in history. Take that. Mark Cuban, to Tom Homan. No one better to secure the border than him. And I'm so excited to speak on behalf of a president who just received a resounding mandate from the American people to deliver on the promises that he made on the campaign trail. We have the House, we have the Senate. President Trump is going to get to work on day one to implement real change that will deliver real relief and support to the American people who are struggling right now under the Harris-Biden administration.
Look at that. That's exactly right. That's a great way to put it. And she's excited to come and speak and talk on behalf of President Trump for the next 4 years and explain what's going on. And that cabinet continues to come together. President Trump has been putting together a fantastic, brilliant, one might say, cabinet, and he's doing it in record speed. Yesterday, we got a few more picks. We found out a couple of other folks that were going to be joining Team Trump as they head back to Washington, D.C. to try to make America great again. And one of them is Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon, she used to be the small business administrator. She was in charge of that. She was in charge of that department under President Trump's first term. And since then, she's been a master fundraiser. She's been in charge of super PAC. She's been a businesswoman. But a lot of people remember her as from her WWE days. She was CEO, co-CEO with her husband, Vince McMahon, of WWE Wrestling. And President Trump said she's the right person to be the Secretary of Education. It is my great honor to announce that Linda McMahon, former administrator of the Small Business Administration, will be the United States Secretary of Education. For the past 4 years, as the chair of the board at the America First Policy Institute, Linda has been a fierce advocate for parents' rights, working hard at both AFPI and America First Works to achieve universal school choice in 12 states, giving children the opportunity to receive an excellent education, regardless of zip code or income. As Secretary of Education, Linda will fight tirelessly to expand a choice to every state in America and empower parents to make the best educational decisions for their families. Linda is going to fight for the best education. And we know that because she's literally a fighter. She's literally a fighter. Look at this. This is one of my favorite clips that has resurfaced ever since President Trump announced Linda McMahon would be joining his team. By the way, that guy that just did that move on her, that guy's running for governor of Tennessee. And this is one of the greatest times to be alive in American history. You have the current you have the future Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, and you have the guy who's running for Tennessee governor. I forget his name. His name is what's the name? Glenn Jacobs. Glenn Jacobs. And he used to be a wrestler. She used to be the CEO of wrestling. And everybody that ever watched wrestling knows that if you're a part of wrestling, you're in the ring. If you're a part of the WWE, you're going to make an appearance on television. And she did. And like a champ, man, she went in there and she got pile drived or pile driven. I don't even know. I don't know if somebody performs like the pile driver on you, are you pile drived or are you pile driven? I'm not really sure and that's exactly what she's going to do with that's exactly what she's going to do with the Department of Education. I'm so sorry. By the way, she was in a video game. Did anyone know that? There was a WWE video game on Nintendo 64. And of course, she was a playable character. And now I think probably the only cabinet member that I know of that has been a video game character. Look, there she is. Red pantsuit. Just laying down the law on Nintendo 64. I'm telling you, I love everything about this administration. I loved everything about the campaign. I loved everything about. These are stars that President Trump's picking he's picking stars right out of the atmosphere. Maybe that's why he's hanging out with Elon Musk so much, because he's like, look, I need stars, Elon. You got rockets, I need stars. So he goes down to Texas, he gets in a rocket, and he picks these stars out of the atmosphere to put in his cabinet. He's got Pete Hegseth, a literal star from Fox News. He just added Sean Duffy, another Fox News star. He's up there. He's got Linda McMahon from WWE. She's also a star. Oh, and if you didn't hear, he also tapped another TV personality. Dr. Mehmet Oz has been chosen to lead. Hold on, where's the... There it is. Dr. Mehmet Oz has been chosen to lead the CMS, the Medicare and Medicaid Services. I'm very pleased to nominate Dr. Mehmet Oz to serve as the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator. America is facing a healthcare crisis, and there may be no physician. Hold on, let me close that because we don't hear these beeps all day. There may be no physician more qualified and capable than Dr. Oz to make America healthy again. Dr. Oz, look, he's Dr. Oz. He ran for Senate. He lost to John Fetterman, which I'm going to be honest with you, I thought was maybe the end of your political career. If you lose to a guy who only has half of a brain and can't really speak, I mean, the debate between Dr. Oz and John Fetterman is still one of my favorite things to watch, but not for all the wrong reasons. But he's back, and he's better than ever. And now he's going to be working with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They're going to be working in lockstep, hand in hand, arm in arm, to make America healthy again and to make sure that our Medicare and our Medicaid systems are working smoothly. I'm telling you, star power. That's what this is all about. It's all about star power. Donald Trump knows. And that's the reason why Donald Trump goes to, because people are always like, why is Donald Trump going to this wrestling match? Why is he going to the UFC in Madison Square Garden? Why is he going to watch a rocket launch? The reason is simple. It's because he wants everybody to see just how amazing America is and just how unified we are and how technologically advanced we are. It's the same reason why Xi Jinping gets his entire military together with their big nuclear weapons and their tanks and the legions of troops that he has, and they march up and down Beijing every couple years. They do that because they want to show everybody the force that they're to be reckoned with, that they are well armed and they are well equipped and they are at the pinnacle of technological warfare. That's why they do it in China. Donald Trump does it here, but he just does it by going to wrestling matches and watching rockets launch. And everybody, all eyes are on President Trump. When President Trump goes somewhere like the SpaceX launch of Starship, everybody's watching. The entire world sees it, and they know that this is what Donald Trump's America is going to look like. It's going to look like a rocket going to the moon. And Donald Trump's going to be there every step of the way. So very, 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 very exciting stuff. There was also another announcement yesterday. We mentioned it briefly, and that was Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick became the Commerce Secretary. There was a rumor he was going to be Treasury. Still don't have a Treasury Secretary, but we do have a Commerce Secretary. And a little later on the show, we're going to be chatting with Paul Stone. Paul Stone is the CEO of Colonial Metals Group, and he's a really smart guy. And we're going to talk, he looks a little bit like Howard Lutnick, as a matter of fact, but we're going to talk to him about this pick, about who potentially could be Treasury Secretary, and about how all of these decisions are going to affect our economic standing, your personal finances, and the overall effect to America's economy, bringing down prices, all that kind of stuff. Here in just a little while, we're excited that he's able to join us. But look, we got this whole thing with the cabinet battle. This whole thing that they're blowing out of proportion with a couple of it. Matt Gaetz is, of course, the big one. When you look at what's going on with the Senate, when you look at what's going on with the battle that's brewing and the battle that all of these senators are saying is coming, Donald Trump, he's going to have problems with Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is going to be an issue for Team Trump. Well, I don't know about that. I personally, he's the best choice for the job. And we know that because more and more, for every detractor that comes out and says Matt Gaetz is a horrible person, there are other people who worked with him in Congress, his colleagues, his allies, people that he sat on committees with, people that he served in caucuses with. And these people are coming out and they're saying, look, Matt Gaetz is perfect there's nobody better. One of them is Jim Jordan, who was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, which Matt Gaetz sat upon. And he said, as far as the committee goes, anybody who saw Matt Gaetz knows this is the job that this guy was born to do.
Well, what I know about Matt Gaetz is he served on our committee as one of the most talented members of Congress. I mean, your viewers know this. If you watch Matt Gaetz in a cross-examination in committee, one of the most talented guys I've ever seen.
Yeah, you better be ready.
Yeah, he does his homework. He comes prepared. I think he'll bring that same attitude as Attorney General. And as I said before, he's going to fight for the American people. He's going to focus on what the Justice Department should focus on. Here's another example. In the run-up to this past election, the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department was going after Glenn Youngkin because he was simply cleaning up the voter rolls and saying if you're a non-citizen, you shouldn't be voting in our federal elections. We had the same thing happen in Ohio. The Civil Rights Division sends our Secretary of State the same letter and says you got to stop cleaning up your voter rolls and taking non-citizens off the voter rolls. Matt Gaetz is not going to be engaged in that kind of activity if he's our Attorney General. That's what I know, and that's why President Trump nominated him for the position.
By the way, that was Maria Bartiromo coughing. That wasn't me. I'm perfectly. Something's wrong. Something's going on with Maria Bartiromo. Someone's got to get her a cough drop or a Halls or something like that. But Matt Gaetz is the guy. Matt Gaetz is the one. And he's right. He brings up a great point about Glenn Youngkin and how the DOJ was fighting him for taking illegal aliens off the voter rolls. Can't do that. You can't take illegals off the voter rolls. Why not? It's against the law for them to vote. Why should they be on the voter rolls? That's the kind of what everyone's excited about with Doge. You know, we hear all these people. Elon Musk is great. And Vivek Ramaswamy is fantastic. And they're going to clean house. And they're going to cut down government waste and spending. Okay, great. What they're going to do with the Department of Government Efficiency, Matt Gaetz is going to do with the Department of Justice. In fact, everybody that's being picked by President Trump is going to do exactly what Elon and Vivek are doing overall for the government. Pete Hegseth is going to go in. He's going to de-wokeify the Defense Department. He's going to make sure that they're not spending money on stupid stuff and they're only spending money on training the most lethal fighting force in the world. He's going to make sure they're dedicated not to, flight suits for pregnant women, but to, executing warfare, to fighting and winning wars with as little casualty as possible on either side. That's it. That's what the Defense Department's all about. When you look at Health and Human Services with RFK Jr., same thing. He's going to make sure that we're all safer, we're all healthier, and he's going to cut out the wasteful spending. And Matt Gaetz is going to go into the Department of Justice and root out the corruption, get rid of the lawyers who've been committing lawfare. And he's wholly qualified because, quite frankly, he just doesn't give a spit. Matt Gaetz does not care what anybody thinks of Matt Gaetz. And that's the kind of person you need in that job. Anna Paulina Luna from Florida got a little testy with a CNN reporter when he asked her about Matt Gaetz, and she gave a resounding recommendation on his behalf.
I've been able to get firsthand knowledge from the Department of Justice and FBI once they came out and acquitted Gaetz and actually dropped their investigation into him because they found that all those allegations, as you had just stated, were actually unfounded. I really would appreciate it if networks would cover the fact that this was also tied to a $25 million extortion scheme against Matt Gaetz and his father. And to furthermore, I find it interesting that these actual allegations come out at peculiar timing while he's being nominated to be the Attorney General. To be clear, I do think Matt Gaetz is going to be an incredible Attorney General. I think this baseless smear campaign, frankly, is abhorrent that it's happening to someone like Matt Gaetz, who's done so much to fight the government corruption. And there's a reason why President Trump won not just the popular vote, but also the electorate vote. Frankly, people trust President Trump's judgment more than any news outlet out there.
I mean, Hundo P. Anna Paulina Luna from Florida, Congresswoman. And look, there's two things that she brought up, which everybody needs to keep in mind. And if anybody comes at you about Matt Gaetz, if anybody comes at you with these bogus allegations, there's two things. Number one, President Trump was picked overwhelmingly by the people to fix the government corruption, and he's picking Matt Gaetz to do it. President Trump has all the political capital in the world. His bank account is full. His political capital looks like Harry's vault at Gringotts. That's how much political capital this guy has. He's been given by the electoral majority and the popular vote majority a mandate to fix all of the bad stuff. And there's nothing badder than the Department of Justice. And two, this DOJ investigation into Matt Gaetz was dismissed. There was an investigation. Nothing was founded. There was no proof. There was nothing that they thought needed to be addressed. And so they said, no, we're done. There were no charges filed. There was nothing but allegations. Tell me, who hasn't had allegations come out against them? especially if you're a Republican in a position of power. Donald Trump had Stormy Daniels, E. Jean Carroll, all of these ridiculous accusations over and over and over again. There were like 2 new ones at the end of the campaign that nobody cared about because we didn't care anymore. My good buddy Herman Cain was chased out of the race for similar accusations. Matt Gaetz now, they're talking about the DOJ and this ethics report, which they're voting on today, whether they should or should not release it, which they shouldn't, but they probably will. One way or another, that report's going to come out and everybody's going to look at it. But the fact of the matter is, it's a he said, she said. It's an allegation that's never been proven, and there have been some serious issues in the past. And we'll get to that here in just a minute. Even Lindsey Graham from South Carolina came out sort of, not in favor of, but not against Matt Gaetz. He originally came out and said, I don't know about Matt Gaetz. I'm going to have to think about that one, which fun fact would be the first time Lindsey Graham ever thought about anything. But he said, I'm going to have to think about that one. Well, he's done some thinking apparently because he got cornered by reporters and he said this.
Nobody should be disqualified because of a media report.
It's an investigation. Investigated by the department. He wants to leave. Bipartisan ethics investigation.
And they didn't proceed forward.
And they didn't proceed forward. Ford, which is, to me, Ford is a pickup truck, but to Lindsey Graham, it's a direction. There's Packard, Ford, Chevy, Ford. That's the Lindsey. Anyway, Lindsey Graham said, look, nobody should be disqualified because of a media report. And the stupid media is there going, well, it was more than a report. It was an investigation. He goes, yeah. And they didn't move forward, meaning they investigated and said, gosh, there's really nothing here. We're going to leave. Well, it's like one time my wife and I we came back from Atlantic City when we were living in New Jersey, and we were having fun and we were yelling and it was, we were hanging out. And then all of a sudden the cops showed up and I go, can I help you? They go, yeah, we got a cause of a domestic disturbance. And I said, oh no, that was my wife and I. We just got back from Atlantic City. We won big and we were having a good time. They go, oh, okay, nothing to see here. And they left. Am I being accused of a domestic disturbance? No, they investigated. Wasn't nothing there. Also, I think they took one look at me. They're like, this guy is not a threat to anybody. But Lindsey Graham took it a step further. In fact, so today, Matt Gaetz, flanked by Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and Secretary of State-to-be Senator from Florida, Marco Rubio, he went back to Congress. He went back to the Senate and he met with senators and he spoke with senators and he rallied senators. He's not hiding from anybody. You know, Matt, that's the thing. A lot of Democrats or a lot of other Republicans would hide. They're like, well, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to keep quiet. I'm going to wait for my confirmation hearing. Matt Gaetz walks right in the door. He goes, here I am. I got JD. I got Marco. Here we go. Let's go. What do you want to know? What can I tell you that will help ease your fears? What can I tell you that will help ease your mind about what's happening with this nomination and what I'm planning to do when I become Attorney General of the United States of America? And Lindsey Graham posted on his X. Let me move this a little bit over so that we can all. There we go. Lindsey Graham posted on his X. I had a very good meeting with President Trump's nominee for Attorney General Matt Gaetz and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. I'm committed to allowing the process to go forward in a manner consistent with past practices and fundamental fairness. I can't talk like this I just can't do it. This process will not be a rubber stamp, nor will it be driven by a lynch mob. My record is clear. I tend to defer to presidential cabinet choices unless the evidence suggests disqualification, which means he's going to defer to the president. The president chose him. Okay, I'm going to defer to the president unless, of course, there's some blaring, in your face, big bright lights slapping you around going, no, this guy is horrible. And the only thing that we see right now is that the media and the left are saying this guy's horrible. And I'm going to be honest with you, that to me is a feather in Matt Gaetz's cap. I fear the process surrounding the Gaetz nomination is turning into an angry mob, and unverified allegations are being treated as if they are true. I have seen this movie before. I would urge all of my Senate colleagues, particularly Republicans, not to join the lynch mob and give the process a chance to move forward. He likes to use forward. After years of being investigated by the Department of Justice, no charges were brought against Matt Gaetz. This is something we should all remember. No charges. Fun fact. Here's what you need to know about Matt Gaetz. No charges were ever brought against him for anything. Period. Like, what more is there to discuss? No, accusations are totally different than charges. Investigations not moving forward are investigations that are basically moving backward. It is preposterous, and it's typical how the media reacts. But CNN, I'm going to be honest with you, CNN actually had a guy on who I thought spoke fairly well about the situation. Jim Acosta had this dude, I don't know the guy's name, but Fake News Jim Acosta had this guy on CNN, and he asked him, he goes, is it time for President Trump to withdraw the Matt Gaetz nomination? Listen to this.
Are these allegations enough, do you think, for the Trump team to, sort of pull back on this Gaetz pick? I mean, at this point, is it a little too much at this point to push forward?
No, I don't think so yet. I mean, I always go back to the Washington Post reported out that there was witness credibility problems. That's what the Justice Department cited when they said they weren't going to go after him on this stuff. And I think it's important in a country that says you're guilty, you're innocent until proven guilty, that we should take that into consideration. And so the ethics committee is going to do what they're going to do tomorrow. I personally think, they don't really have a history of putting these reports out there. So I think it would be kind of a surprise and a little bit of a break to their credibility if they put it out there. But really at the moment, it's going to go to the Senate. One way or another, it is heading towards the Senate. And these senators are going to have to make a decision as to whether they want to buck Donald Trump. And oftentimes when lawmakers buck Donald Trump, it doesn't usually work out so well for them. But that's where I see it headed.
Yeah. Don't buck Trump. If you buck Trump, you're going to get it. It's not going to work well for you, you Trump buckers. Any politician, whoever bucks Trump knows that they end up getting bucked themselves. This is what happens. You don't buck Trump, especially when we go back to the fact that the people overwhelmingly chose Donald Trump to do this job, and Donald Trump chose Matt Gaetz. And if you want to buck him, if you buck Gaetz, you buck Trump. And if you buck Trump, you better be getting your curriculum vitae out. You better be checking your LinkedIn profile and make sure that you're ready for that private sector job, because there's a very short memory. There's a very long memory, rather. President Trump is going to remember this come midterm time. So will a lot of other Americans. So will the internet. That's the best thing about the internet. You can go on the internet and find anything instantly. And as soon as something happens, like, for example, when Linda McMahon was chosen to be Secretary of Education, all of a sudden this clip popped back up. That's just brutal. Thank you, internet, by the way. The internet makes my job so much easier, doesn't it? But that's the great thing about the internet. They're going to remember every single senator. They remember every single vote, and they're going to come back at you, and they'll make sure that you don't return to power. And if you don't ask us, just look at Trump bucker Liz Cheney. Just ask Trump bucker Adam Kinzinger. You know how many people bucked Trump and got bucked themselves? So many. And hopefully it won't be many more. Hopefully they'll have learned their lesson. President Trump was asked by a reporter when he was out looking at the rocket launch yesterday, are you, this is the dumbest, reporters ask, they always say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there is clearly this is a dumb question. This is a reporter who just has not been paying attention for the last 8 years. This is a reporter who knows absolutely nothing about the subject they're reporting on, and that's President Trump. Listen to this question.
Mr. President, are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No.
No. Mr. President, are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz? No. And he just walks that was like a forceful and definitive no.
Mr. President, are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No.
That wasn't just a no. That was a why the hell would I do a thing like that, lady? No, I wouldn't. I'm the 47th president of the United States. I just won an overwhelming victory. I have a mandate from the people. I put together my dream cabinet, and I'm not reconsidering anything. You know who should reconsider? Any single senator who comes forward and says, Matt Gaetz is a mistake. Anybody who says Matt Gaetz isn't the person for the job, they should reconsider. They should ask themselves some serious questions like, what do I want from my future? Do I want Donald Trump's loyalty? Do I want access to the White House? Do I want to be seen as somebody who is doing the will of the people and the voters? Or do I want to be seen as somebody who's just in it for myself and has an ego and believes that I know better than the electorate? That's a decision that they're going to have to make. J.D. Vance, by the way, he also, like I said, was at that meeting with Matt Gaetz. He said Donald J. Trump just won a major electoral victory. His coattails turned a 49-51 Senate to a 53-47 Senate. He deserves a cabinet that is loyal to the agenda he was elected to implement, which is, again, one of the... Well, I miss J.D. Vance. I miss seeing him every day. My wife and I were just talking about this. J.D. Vance, the worst thing about the election being over is that J.D. Vance isn't on my television every single moment. J.D. Vance isn't out at campaign stops. J.D. Vance isn't taking on reporters. J.D. Vance isn't out there debating Tim Walz or anybody else. I kind of miss that. And I hope, again, that J.D. Vance takes one of those hands-on vocal positions in the Trump White House, because I think J.D. Vance is not only a good politician, but he's good television. And he's great audio clips for me. Like I said, I love a good audio clip. Listen, CNN doesn't just not understand President Trump. They don't just hate Matt Gaetz. There's a bunch of other people in the cabinet they don't like, and I'm going to tell you all about those. But first, I found another poker video from I guess this was our second poker tournament that we've ever had, our Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, and I'm going to play that for you here. In just a minute, because that's coming up. We have on December the 5th our Kaye's Kids Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, and we have the tickets are going so fast. We sold out, by the way, of our spectator tickets, because a lot of people, maybe they're nervous to play. They've never played before. Keep in mind, it's not a professional poker tournament. There's no pros. These are all amateurs. But we've sold out. We have no more spectator tickets remaining. We only have 5 full tables remaining. So if you want to jump on a table, if you want to get a discount, get 2 tickets free. There's only 5 of those remaining. There's the opportunity to get a single ticket if you'd like to come and play and enjoy the food and the camaraderie and the drinks. And then, like I said, there's 4 seats remaining at my VIK table. That's the table where you get to play with me, right next to me, take my money. There's swag bags and fantastic prizes, and we're going to live stream the entire night. So if you want to be live streaming to hundreds of thousands of people all over the world while we play poker and enjoy some Christmas cheer, then that's for you. That's for you. Get your VIK ticket and you can be part of our live stream table the entire night. It's going to be so much fun. There's only 4 seats remaining. So definitely, like I said, hurry up and get those. I'll share that video with you here before too long. Why do I have all these things up? There we go. So that you can see just how fun it is, just how amazingly exciting it all is. But first, let's get back to CNN for a minute. Donald Trump, as we shared with you earlier, he went to Elon Musk's rocket launch. And that was, it's exciting. I've never been to a rocket launch. I've seen them, come off the coast. Here in Florida, there were rockets all the time. But this was down in Texas, and Elon Musk, he fired the rocket up into the space, and then it came back down. And apparently one of the boosters missed. Instead of them catching it with the chopstick things, apparently it went into the ocean or whatever, or I guess the Gulf of Mexico. Whatever it is. Still, it's I'll be honest with you. Everyone was applauding and cheering, wearing in their banana shirts, which is another, I don't even know this, but the SpaceX crew, the people that man SpaceX, they don't wear like suits and ties like they used to do in NASA. They wear t-shirts that say like it's bananas or we're bananas or this is bananas or something. And it actually has a banana. I thought I was watching a Savannah Bananas game, but apparently it was the SpaceX rocket launch. But anyway, so Donald Trump is there, and he brought a couple of other folks with him. Senator Bill Hagerty, who we still think may be in the cabinet. We're not sure. Then Ted Cruz was there because it's Texas, and Ted Cruz is always there. A couple of other people were in on the fun. But CNN had this panel led by Jake Tapper, and man, they just couldn't hack. They just could not hack that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all of these other people have come together to save America. And they were just looking for the most ridiculous things to make fun of. Listen to this.
Listen, this is one of the most successful people that the world has ever known, and the ability to build businesses and think outside the box and be an entrepreneur. That's a voice that the president really values. But when you look at this totality, this kind of theme that they all think they're superheroes now, there's a little bit more swagger with the Republican Party now, because they did win the White House, the House, and the Senate. You see it in sports now, where people are scoring touchdowns and goals and winning matches and doing the Trump dance. There are Republicans who are feeling pretty cool about themselves for the first time in a long time, but they should stop. The guys should all stop doing the dance unless
They're athletes.
The dance is a little weird, but unless
it doesn't quite work unless you're Donald Trump, because it's his.
Oh, you stop. Listen, first of all, I don't like that they're calling themselves superheroes. Sure, he's the most successful guy that ever lived. Yeah, he's created all these companies. Yeah, he's going to get us to Mars, but it's superheroes. That's just, and the dance. Cut out the dance. The dance is ridiculous. Why are you guys doing this? They just can't handle the fact that not only did the Democrats lose the election, but in winning, President Trump has become a cultural icon and has changed the culture of this country and has permeated not just politics, but pop culture. I mean, he came from pop culture, so it only makes sense that he would continue to change and alter pop culture. That's why he's picking these superstars for his cabinet. That's why he's got good-looking TV personalities who also know a thing or two about governing, and he's putting them in positions of power. That's why Elon and Vivek have been given these prestigious positions at the top of the Department of Government Efficiency. It is, and CNN, they just can't handle it. Don't call yourselves superheroes and stop doing the Trump dance. But there's more.
If Elon Musk wants to help fix the federal government, he should get a government appointment, go through security clearances, go through conflicts of interest disclosures, and the like. It's really hard. The idea that he's going to go butt into every agency, he'll have Trump, obviously Trump's imprimatur. No one's going to refuse to tell Musk something or show him documents. Then he goes right back to his private business and uses the information however he pleases. It's really unbelievable.
Not to mention the fact that he has so many government contracts.
Oh, yeah. So now they're annoyed that Elon Musk is in charge of government efficiency. And they're saying, you know what? If he wants to help the United States of America, you know what he should do? He should get a job. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, but precisely because he never wanted a job. He's the richest man in the world because he went out and he created jobs for other people. He's like, I'm going to start a company. You guys can come and work here and we'll all make bazillions of dollars together and change the world. Now they're saying if Elon wants to work in the government, he should get a job. Don't ever tell Elon Musk anything about business. Don't tell Elon Musk anything about what he should do with his time. I think he's pretty much got it all figured out. And this dude from CNN is saying he needs to be vetted. He needs to get a background check, and he needs to get government clearance, and he needs to go through all of the proper channels, and he needs to do this, that, and the other thing. Why? Why? So he can become another government bureaucrat who's chained to the system that he's been designated to destroy? Stupid. No, the thing that we want is we want outliers. We don't want government people telling us how to run government. We want private sector people telling us how the government is running ineffectively and how it could be fixed and why it's so expensive and why everything's broken and why there's so many people doing the same job. Get rid of the redundancies. We don't want more government employees. We want fewer government employees. And CNN saying, you know, Elon Musk should just get a government job if he wants to run the government. And you know what else? He's going to get all this information, and where's he going to go? Back to his private business. And he's going to take that information back to his private business. Dude, he's a government contractor. He's building rockets for the United States of America. I'm pretty sure he's already got a lot of information. He probably knows more about he's got secret clearance because he's a weapons manufacturer. These rockets aren't just tourist attractions. These rockets are military weapons grade technology. And Elon Musk has he has a contract, multiple contracts from the United States government to work within his company and the Defense Department and the aerospace technology, all these places. He's got the info. He's not looking to be some kind of spy so he can steal government secrets and bring them back to SpaceX. If anything, it's the other way around. The government needs to know what Elon knows. Elon doesn't need to know what the government knows. But they just can't handle it. And then there was this comment, which just shows how ridiculously ill-informed CNN and really all of the media is.
Right. Whereas I mentioned is that when the U.S. government decided not to continue its own space shuttle development and advancement, it did outsource to places like SpaceX. And so it's heavily subsidized and now is going to be overseeing the same agencies that have been giving him money and making this profitable.
By the way, that's a lie. That's false. He's not overseeing anything. He has to say he's going to oversee these same agencies that have been giving him money. No, he's not. Donald Trump put him in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, a brand new thing. It's not an agency. It's not a federal bureau. It's none of these things. It's a pet project that he and Vivek Ramaswamy have come up with. He's not being paid. He's doing it all pro bono. And their job is not to oversee any agency. He will not be making demands of any government employees. He will not be in charge of granting contracts or deleting or any of that. His job is to take a look at the government and suggest to the chief executive, aka the president of the United States, to suggest to them where the government waste is. He's going to be he's not going to go in and fire anybody. Why? He doesn't have the jurisdiction. That's not his job, number one. And number two, he doesn't have the authority. He's not a government employee, as they just pointed out. And now they're saying he's overseeing agencies. He's not at all. That's a lie. Don't let anyone tell you he is. They're trying to paint Elon Musk out not as a hero, but as some kind of devious supervillain who's going to go into the government, steal their secrets, shut down their departments, and then use everything that he's gleaned from his time in office for his own personal gain. Folks, he's the richest man in the world. He doesn't need to gain anything else.
Now, it's one of the coolest things in government is to be able to go and see a space launch, right? It is the idea, the moonshot. You really feel like you're doing something bigger than yourself. But Elon Musk is not accountable to anybody in the American public, wasn't elected, like you said, not confirmed. And his whole goal is to really just go in, as he says, as a big hammer and break things. And some of these things that he wants to break are actually really healthy and productive for keeping basic standard of living in the United States. It's that whole disruptive idea of technology, that disruption for its own sake is the ideal, as opposed to what's the impact on people.
I think we can all agree that this government could use some disrupting, but it's also good for people to go through background checks and be vetted by the Senate through its constitutional advice and consent.
Oh yeah, that's what we want. We want the Senate to vet Elon Musk because they're doing such a great job of vetting Matt Gaetz and everyone else. I tell you, it's just CNN. They did not. It's weird. Sometimes you think they've learned their lesson. Sometimes you think they haven't learned their lesson. But something's eventually going to happen with that network. Their ratings are down. Not as bad as MSNBC, which officially now is on the auction block. They're going to spin it off. They're going to sell it to somebody. I don't know who would want to buy it, but whoever's going to buy it will probably clean house. They'll probably just get rid of it. I mean, there's really nothing to do with MSNBC except start over. Taking with Morning Joe and Mika Brzezinski taking that little jaunt down to Mar-a-Lago, that's not going to fix the problem with MSNBC. That's something that has to be kind of destroyed and rebuilt from the ground up. And somebody's going to do it. We're not really sure who, but we do know that it's the continued deterioration of the old school legacy mainstream media and the new renaissance of online podcasting, live streams, and all kinds of other fantastic stuff. Which reminds me, if you don't yet listen to our daily morning podcast, the 47 Daily, you're missing out. The 47 Daily podcast is amazing. If you go to the47daily.com, it'll take you right to the iTunes page where you can listen every single day. And it's 20 minutes. It's much shorter than this podcast. And the reason for that is that it's just the news that you need about what's happening with Donald Trump. And it's unfiltered. It's not propaganda. It's not fake news. It's not been edited. There's no agenda behind it. It's, hey, you know what? President Trump is working hard with his team to make America great again. And instead of listening to these liars and these propagandists and these fake news, creeps, listen to me, because I'm going to give you exactly the news direct from the Trump campaign, or rather the Trump administration, direct from Mar-a-Lago, direct from the transition, direct from the first 100 days, direct from the White House for the next 4 years. And you get it every single morning. So you don't have to worry about what the truth is. I'll tell you. And all you have to do is download the 47 Daily podcast. It's at the47daily.com. You can get it on Spotify too, if you prefer Spotify. It's basically everywhere. My goal now is to just be everywhere, to be in your face, in your head, in your ears, on your phone, just all the time. I just always want to be bugging you, giving you information. And, I like it when people go, for example, we have a monthly poker game here up at the club. And every time I go in there, someone's like, man, every time I turn on my phone, I see you. And I go, well, that's because you are a 25 to 54-year-old male. And that's my target. So if you're a 25 to 54-year-old male, boom, you're going to hopefully see a lot of me here over the next few years. And we're very, very, very excited about that. All right, listen, we're going to bring on Paul Stone here in just a minute, but before we do, couple of other things that I want to follow up on. And one of them is Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace yesterday, you may remember, she introduced this bill because she didn't want to pee next to dudes, is how I put it. And that's basically, that's basically what it is. Nancy Mace first of all, she's a congresswoman from South Carolina. And she, in response to a woman named Sarah McBride, who is the newly elected first trans representative anywhere, but she's from Delaware. Nancy Mace was objected to the fact that she wanted to use the ladies' room or whatever. And so what she did was she filed this motion to be included in the rules package, saying that you had to use the bathroom of your biological sex, or the bathroom of your sex that, is real and not imaginary. You can identify as whatever you want, but whatever physically your physiology says you are, that's the bathroom that you're going to use. And again, she's doing this to protect women. And man, the people just exploded. She just got so much hate for it. There was a guy you would think that with all the real problems going on in this world, you would think that with all the issues that we're facing and how President Trump's trying to ramp up, to save and secure the border, to get rid of all these criminals. We've still got inflation. Oh, Joe Biden's starting World War III on his way out the door. That's probably something we should worry about. No, they're worried about Nancy Mace wanting to keep women safe in the Capitol building. And I'm like, why wouldn't you want to keep women safe in the Capitol building? But ABC had some real questions about it, and they cornered her outside to pepper her and to just kind of interrogate her on her new bill.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%. And
should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. I'm not going to stand for it. And the Speaker said it would be in the House rules package. If it's not, I'll be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Now, Speaker,
end of story. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left, are willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom?
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect. And I'm absolutely going to stand in the way of anyone who thinks it's okay for a man to be in our locker room, in our changing rooms, in our dressing rooms, in women's bathrooms. And in fact, if you agree with that, you're crazy, because that's not okay. It's not okay.
All right. So, it's weird to me. Imagine being an ABC reporter and saying, forcing this woman to go into a man's bathroom. Is that respectful? First of all, it's biologically a man. And you're not forcing them. You're saying, if you would like to use the restroom in this government building, you must use the restroom that matches your genitalia. That's all it's saying. It's not saying you don't have to use that restroom at all. If you don't want to go in there, you don't have to. No one's forcing anybody. You can go across the street to the Starbucks and use it. I think they have like just the single. It's like the communal, anyone who, first come, first serve kind of bathroom. You can go to a restaurant, you can do whatever you want. But in the Capitol building, this is what we want. We want to protect women, and we want to make sure that men, biological men, aren't going in there, unattended. In fact, Nancy Mace said after all this happened and by the way, I have that death threat from that weird TikToker who I was going to play it, but I was like, nah, it's too gross. They're talking about like smashing her head into the tile and grabbing her hair. It was just weird. We don't need to see any of that. But after all of this happened, it kind of had the reverse effect, because Nancy Mace didn't back down, because that's not what combative conservatives do. That's not what liberty-loving, freedom-defending patriots like Nancy Mace do. No, we double down. We fight back. We say, oh, yeah? You think that was bad? Well, wait till you see what I bring up next. And she did, in fact, introduce another House resolution to prohibit individuals from accessing or using single-sex facilities on all federal property, other than those corresponding to their biological sex and for other purposes. So she said, I'm not even going to stop at the Capitol building. I want this enacted on all federal property. If you're in a federal museum, if you're at a federal park, if you're at a monument, if you are at any kind of office building, be it the Pentagon or the Department of Treasury or the IRS, any piece of federal property, I want you to have to use the restroom that is linked to your biological sex. And she wrote, again, it's just a 2-page House resolution. Maybe it's 3. Okay, this one, there was another sentence there. So there's 3 sentences, there's 3 pages. It's a single resolution. And she's like, I'm not backing down. We're not just stopping with the Capitol. This isn't just about me and the thousands of women that work at the Capitol building. It's about women everywhere. And how dare you come at me saying that this is unfair to men when it's truly unfair to women, and aren't we supposed to be taking care of our women? It's, again, a really, really bizarre. It's really, really weird how these liberals think and what they're saying and doing, and how we're supposed to be, you know, just going along with it. Again, they didn't listen. They didn't realize what happened. They didn't see the mandate against this kind of woke behavior. And ABC is continuing to demonize Nancy Mace and turn her into the villain when clearly she's just trying to protect herself and other people like her. We'll see how long ABC lasts before they go on the chopping block. All right, we're going to bring in Paul Stone here in just a minute. But first, I want to share with you this video. This is from our Ho Ho Hold'em poker tournament. This is the second year. And because a lot of people are like, I want to come, I'm coming from out of town, or I've never been before. What's it like? I want you to watch this video because this is one of my favorite years. I mean, every year is great and it just grows and grows and grows. But this gives you a really good idea from beginning to end of what we've got planned on December 5th, how we help our Kaye's kids and how we raise money for our charity. And we do it with just an amazing celebration at an incredible place. Watch.
This is the second annual Ho Ho Hold'em Celebrity Poker Tournament. This is our featured table, which we live stream on Twitch. We have a D's Nuts table right over here. D's Nuts bought this whole table. These guys are killing it. Are you guys having fun?
Oh, yeah.
Woo! Oh, yeah. It's our prize table. We have tons of prizes from Best Bet, from D's Nuts, of course, our vodka. Everybody came out to support us. We love it. Look, come here. This is the Mark Kaye Show table. What's up, everybody? Hey. Check out Rob's sweater. Rob, show him your sweater. Shake it. You got to shake it. There you go. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Good. We're going to be here playing till everybody goes home, and there's only one person left standing. They're going to get $1,000 and the tournament trophy for the second annual Ho Ho Hold'em Celebrity Poker Tournament.
Yes!
Very fitting. This is so exciting. We're down to the final table. The last 8 players. One of them is going home with $1,000, the trophy, the watch, the title. Look at this. We've got Justin, Poker Tour champion Paul Petralia. Anyway, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to get a drink, and I'm going to watch the final. Someone's about to win $1,000 and the Ho Ho Hold'em Celebrity Poker Tournament. So exciting. We're down to 3. That means the next person's winning money, $250. We've got Derek, we've got Paul, and we've got Bart. And they are all somewhat even and very into winning the grand prize. We are down to the final 2. The trophy, the cash, the watch, it's all on the line. We've got Derek versus Paul. It's really anyone's game. I'm so excited to see who wins. Congratulations! Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Derek! Paul, second place, not too shabby. I have $500 for you.
We're going to donate that back to the kids.
Come on, what?
Happy to do it.
Oh my God, yay! This is the best Christmas ever. Yay, thank you guys so much. Derek is our Kaye's Kids Ho Ho Hold'em Celebrity Poker Tournament champion for 2018. All right, sir. I'm happy to award you this commemorative trophy for the Ho Ho Hold'em Celebrity Poker Tournament. Display it proudly. Also, check this out. The Best Bet Bulova watch. Ooh. Makes a great stocking stuffer. And then, of course, what we've all been waiting for, the $1,000 cash prize. Congratulations.
This goes to...
Oh, you're donating it back?
Yes.
He's donating it back! What about the watch? Are you keeping the watch?
Yeah, I need it.
Okay, he's keeping the watch. He's keeping the watch. But thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who came out with this. We've now raised over $16,000, which beats last year's total. Thank you to everybody involved. Thanks to Best Bet and Dreams Come True. And thanks to all of you. We're going to do it again next year. Who wants to? Yay!
I was very excited. And that total has just like almost doubled every year. It's such a great time. It's so much fun. www.kayskids.com is where you go to get your tickets. www.kayskids.com, and you can see that final table that we live stream all night. I don't want you to miss out. This is going to be amazing. Go to www.kayskids.com. All right, I'm very excited to bring on my next guest, Paul Stone, the CEO of Colonial Metals Group. And in full disclosure, Colonial Metals Group is a sponsor of Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. But it's great because we love gold. And we're very happy. We're happy for all of our sponsors. But Paul Stone is also a businessman. He's an investment expert, and he's just really bright and brilliant about stuff that we need to know about. So I thought I would bring him on to talk about a couple of things. Paul, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Mark, thanks for having us. Of course, we're very grateful to be here.
Real quick, since we know we are talking about gold, is it bad to buy gold because isn't Donald Trump going to save the economy and make the dollar great again, or is gold always a good investment?
So if we just look at the need for the money to be printed to pay bigger and bigger bills faster and faster and faster, gold and silver have to go higher because they're a trapped asset and also considered monetary. Unless the money printing stops, which means then bills don't get paid, right, which means then the economy suffocates a bit from not having the revenue it demands to function, then gold and silver will rise even higher because of the calamity that's onset by that change in financial position, towards the economy. Printed money.
It's a win-win. That's fantastic. Which leads me to my next question. When you talk about the presidency, because, a lot of people say Biden destroyed the economy and Donald Trump's going to save it. And a lot of detractors say no one man can unilaterally make a decision that affects the economy. But that's not necessarily true, because we saw just right after the election, we saw the Dow Jones skyrocket. And when RFK Jr. was appointed or nominated, we saw a couple of these individual stocks plummet. So the president does actually have a lot of power over the economy unilaterally, correct?
Of course. When you think about job creation under Obama, under Biden, job creation was for the government, was doing all the hiring, because there was no inspiration. There was no real leadership, no decisive decisions, no real investigation on how to get the economy to actually produce jobs.
Right.
When Trump cut corporate tax, there was about $2 trillion back in his first term that was offshored, if you will. It wasn't banked here in the domestic, United States. Mm-hmm. And so when you could make it easier for companies to bring that money back, well, that money's going to go to work. That money's going to be energy that works itself into the economy, that creates more economic activity. That's a hell of a lot better than a government doing some hiring.
Yeah, I mean, and the long and the short of it is, and I always tell people is, Americans, we're not savers. We don't save money, we spend it. And therefore, the more money you put into the hands of Americans, the better the economy is.
Right, exactly. So if you thought you had, call it $20 trillion to spread around,
right.
The more the government gets of that and lives, to me, on the destructive side of economic activity, the more it gets, then the less money there is, or financial oxygen, if you will, for the actual producing side of the economy to work with. There's just less energy. Start thinking of the dollar or money as energy. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it make things move? Doesn't it electrify things, bring them to life, cause us to create economic activity? So if you think of the dollar as energy, the more energy the economy has, the more production is going to create.
Yeah, and then in the end, the more jobs you create, the more taxes are paid, and then the government gets
real
more energy
jobs,
too. Yeah.
Right, not mindless jobs, just so the podium numbers look better for whoever's in charge that wants to say, look how low unemployment is.
All right.
Well, if you go researching things from the old-fashioned way of counting unemployment, and I know this number will shock everyone when they hear it, and they'll think, well, it can't be that bad. But this is just the way unemployment was counted for hundreds of years before the 80s, and then again in the 90s when it was changed. Unemployment in this country is 25%.
Yeah.
25%, not 3 or 4, 25%. And the inflation number, which is also, I've been stuck on this Johnny Depp term that was brought into popularity back during a movie of his, 15, 20 years ago. But that inflation number of 3.5%, 3% is fugazi.
Yeah.
Real inflation in this country, if you conclude petroleum and agricultural related products, is 12%. That's real inflation as it considers the consumer's pain or ease of checking out and purchasing things.
Yeah. No, that's true, and that's one of the mystical things about government, the way that they report, numbers that make it sound more palatable to the American people. It's always worse. It's a lot like polls that way. Speaking of government ways, speaking of real jobs, so Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, they've got the Department of Government Efficiency, and Elon Musk has called or has claimed that they're going to cut $2 trillion out of the federal budget, and they're going to delete entire departments. Now, in your opinion, as a business owner, someone who's, a CEO, is that feasible? And if so, what economic impact does that have for average everyday people, I guess, who aren't getting their jobs cut?
Paper, it's absolutely feasible. Now, here's what I mean by that: on paper, meaning in theory. It means that, my microphone is sitting here, so it's displacing air. If I move it over here, air fills in where it used to sit. There'll never be a void. So as soon as the government is out of our lives and out of our way, then more people with lives are going to take over and fill those jobs, fill those services, deliver on those needs for society locally, in the county, in the state, and in the country. The minute the government is out of our way, a $1.4 trillion a year salary-sized government. That's how epic the government has grown to be. Reagan, in 1981, government salary and payroll was $75 billion a year. Today, folks, it's $1.4 trillion. Please find a way to get the government out of our lives. Please make these cuts. The printing of our dollar kills the dollar, right? Yep. If we have time later, I could give you a visualization on just how to truly take in what the killing of the dollar means. But it's only worth 2.7 cents today. That means if you were to go buy something that cost $1 in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you would need to bring 24 dollars back in time to buy something that cost $1 in just a few decades ago. That destruction of that energy resource, eventually everything it supports perishes when that resource is extinguished. So the more that we can cut and the power from the federal government to destroy that dollar and inspire and motivate the economy at large to take on how do we solve these needs, the better for the dollar.
Interesting.
The better for our country.
Speaking of dollars, so Treasury Secretary, we heard yesterday that Howard Lutnick is the Commerce Secretary. President Trump picked Howard Lutnick. A lot of people thought perhaps he would be Treasury Secretary. Yeah. That's a post we're still waiting to hear on. The Treasury Secretary, being one of the oldest cabinet positions and also one of the most crucial when it comes to the economy, what do you see or what do you think makes an effective cabinet secretary in the Treasury Department? Is it someone who's gung-ho about tariffs and increasing tariffs and will let Donald Trump, do whatever tariff action he wants? Or is it somebody who's into tax reduction? I mean, what is the goal of the Treasury moving forward after these last 4 years?
This might sound ridiculous, but I would just love perhaps I know it's one position, but if you could have a committee of 5 60, 70-year-old farmers, I swear to God, farmers know how to live within their means. They know how to pivot when the weather isn't good to them or the weather is too good to them. These guys understand, guys and gals, understand real function of money. The Treasury Department, from what I've heard out of what Janet Yellen's been doing, is playing these games that sets things up for the Fed. So they could issue debt, and the Fed could buy the debt at a higher interest rate than what the economy would pay for the debt, the investor groups at large. And again, I'm not a trained economist, and I'm not a financial advisor.
Sure.
This is what I've studied. This is what I try to share with others to help make sense of complicated matters to them, but also to generate questions in their own minds, to start doing their own research and come up, probably reading the same stuff I've been reading. So we don't need a game player in the Treasury Department. We always generally seem to have big bankers that go there. Obviously, it makes sense if you think, well, Treasury's money and someone who ran a big mega bank is dealing with money, they're probably the best qualified to do it. But what we need is a constitutional restoration at the level of Treasury. It's about the 350 million people that live here. It isn't about how to hook up financial institutions or keep the charade going on and on and on forever, which it can't. It can't. So we need a real change agent in the Treasury Department. That would be my opinion.
What do you think is the biggest mistake or the most, I mean, not even mistake, because I think a lot of it was intentional, but what do you think has been the most damaging thing that President Biden has done and his administration has done to our economy in just the last 4 years? I know it's a long list.
The green stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, why the hell can't we have nuclear power? France is completely powered by nuclear energy.
Right.
Well, you want renewable, you want a clean energy source? Nuclear. I mean, the fear over 3 Mile Island from whenever, 50, 60 years ago, was the industry was brand new, and it wasn't that catastrophic of an accident. It wasn't Chernobyl, right? When we look at what Germany's done, this government ineptitude is all over the place. And Biden's mindset and Kamala is even worse than the general mindset we seem to see leading examples in setting up. Germany destroyed all their nuclear reactors, built a 500-acre solar farm. God knows how much money they spend on that. A nuclear reactor generally produces 90% of its power 100% of the time. The solar farm produces 10% of its power.
Right.
90% of the time. So when you look at government ineptitude, the thing that Biden could have done as he checks out mentally and gets one shot at being a memorable president is he could have dealt with reality. He could have invited in the realists to consult with him instead of carrying on some ridiculous party plan or Obama's third term, running roughshod over reality and continuing to enlarge an artificial financial world, create impossible prices for people to pay. I mean, we've all heard the stories. Should I buy one? I can only buy one green pepper for my pasta sauce tonight. I can't afford two. That shouldn't be happening in the United States of America. And it's all due to the government trying to cheapen things for us. They can't help but make things more expensive. If they just get out of the way, if they just turn over things to brilliant people like Elon Musk and Vivek, we would have a much better shot enjoying the pursuit of happiness here in this country.
I'm a big fan of nuclear as well. And Chris Wright, who was chosen to be the energy secretary, has not just, he's not just a fracker and, created one of the largest fracking companies in the country, but he is a big proponent of nuclear as well. So hopefully we will move toward that, because speaking of old movies, I remember Back to the Future when Doc Brown came back and he loaded up his DeLorean with banana peels and old beer cans because it was a fusion reactor on his car. And I thought that was genius. Yeah. And here we are, 30 years later, and we've actually gone backwards on nuclear. But you're right, Elon and a bunch of other people like that hopefully will be whispering into the president's ear and letting him know that is definitely the future. There was one more thing you brought up that I wanted to mention, and it was about I forget what it was now, but that's okay. So moving forward, as we look toward the Trump administration, we all imagine we're going to probably see some tax reductions. We probably are going to see increased incomes. We're probably going to see more investment opportunities. What about the drilling for oil and the energy independence? Because that's something that I try to tell people all the time. It doesn't just bring down the cost of gas. It brings down the cost of basically everything.
Right. Yeah. So again, this is another great example of just government ineptitude. It's evil. It's just evil. So Biden decides to drain the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and bring it back to 1984 quantity levels.
Yeah.
By doing that, you flood, and that also goes into the numbers that tries to make it look like we're still a big exporter of oil. But that's extremely cheap oil. So the oil price comes down. The cost of delivering eggs and groceries and lumber to Home Depot and grocery stores and Lowe's goes down. So yes, energy goes into making things come out of the earth, refine those things that come out of the earth, and get those things that came out of the earth to your groceries, to your shelves, in a town near you. Your groceries on average travel 1,200 miles to your grocery store. So diesel has a huge impact on the cost of things. You're absolutely right. It would be, this will sound crazy, but it would be interesting if the government could tap a revenue source. Mm-hmm. Imagine if the government could create more money out of the oil industry for itself.
Right.
And I'm not suggesting the example of Venezuela, where they kicked all the oil engineers out of the country, said we'll get it up out of the ground ourselves.
Yeah, we don't want to federalize the oil industry.
Right. But the government needs a revenue source. So when we say Trump's plan, tax cuts, this and that will create a government deficit, it will. Why? Because it's going to rob the government of the $7 trillion it needed this year and the $7.5 trillion or $8 trillion it might need next year. So you're going to be reporting this deficit. What does that really mean to people? It means that that's the amount of bills, the dollar amount of bills that came to Washington's doorstep that had to be paid with printed money.
Right.
And here's the scary fact. Visiting with the Brownstone Institute a few weekends ago at their conference, one incredible economist said, on average, the government now is creating about $2.5 trillion out of thin air a year. Eventually, that'll be $2.5 trillion every 6 months. Eventually, it'll be $2.5 trillion every 90 days. Eventually, it'll be $2.5 trillion a month. Eventually, it'll be $2.5 trillion a week. That's not stoppable because the costs, the implosion, the black hole that formed in our economy is when 60 million workers left the workforce and became a cost on the economy. God bless them. They put in their time. Where the government screwed up is it didn't realize it should mainstream immigration back in the 80s. Of course, people want to come here. We need people to come here. Let's interview them. Let's qualify them. And let's logically place them in the economy where they're plumbers and construction workers and nurses and doctors and accountants and teachers. Let's place them in the economy sensibly. They're coming anyway. Let's catch them before they get here. Let's interview them, because when 60 million people leave your workforce, you already need 60 million up-and-comer workers coming up through the economy to offset that cost. That wasn't done. Most politicians are cowards. They can't speak the truth. They're just worried about getting reelected, which means they have to lie and tell us some BS story that is nowhere near the truth. And a few decades later, you have a $3 $36 trillion in debt, and hopefully a hero that can come in and stop the bleeding some. But I would really suggest that people look at Donald Trump and his administration as the folks who are now in charge of the Titanic. They'll show you where the life rafts are. And that's why gold and silver is still relevant and will always be relevant until the government goes bankrupt.
You can get your free gold guide at freegoldguide.com/Kaye, Kaye. Paul Stone, CEO of Colonial Metals Group. This was so much fun. We have to have you back, and we can complain about Kamala Harris and yell about the dollar some more.
Yeah, let's do that.
Paul, thanks.
I'm available as soon as you'll have me.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much. I'll wear a tie next time too, so that and I'll grow a beard so we look like twins. Yeah, you can get your free gold guide. It's freegoldguide.com/Kaye. And it is free. It's like you just go there, you get your gold guide, you can read all about it, and you can make your own decisions about transferring your money to gold IRA. But again, and Paul is, like I said, he sponsors this program, and we're really happy he does, because without sponsorships and without super chats and without you buying our books and things like that, we wouldn't be able to survive. So we want to make sure that we give him his due. But he is a wealth of information, pun totally intended. Listen, and I know that there's a lot to talk about today. Before I wrap things, there's a couple of other things that I haven't even yet gotten to, and I didn't want to ignore because they're just too good. One of them is, what's his name? Alan Lichtman, is that his name? He's the professor who came up with the keys. I don't know if you remember, but there were these keys to winning the election. And this guy thought that he'd cracked the code because for every election that he's decided to predict, he was able to predict the correct outcome. Well, now his keys have failed him, and President Trump was not his choice. He chose Biden or Kamala or somebody, and he said all of these different factors in the global economy or in society or whatever. There's something about like war and GDP, all this stuff. And he said his keys clearly pointed to a Kamala Harris victory. Well, we know that not only was there no Kamala Harris victory, it was like one of the worst shellackings a Democrat has received in decades. I mean, President Trump won not only the Electoral College by more than he's ever won before, he not only won the popular vote by more than any Republican has in like 30, 40 years, but Kamala Harris didn't even outperform Joe Biden in any particular county anywhere. And you remember the CNN clip where they were like, literally nowhere did Kamala Harris do better than Joe Biden. So this Lichtman guy is going out and he's trying to defend himself. And he was on Piers Morgan. This is one of the weirdest, most, I guess, sideshow panels of people I've ever seen. Piers Morgan, who clearly is the next Jerry Springer. Piers Morgan gets Alan Lichtman. He gets Harry Sisson for some reason. Larry Elder's there on the end. And then he throws in Cenk Uygur, who apparently has had a back and forth with this Lichtman guy, and they just start screaming at each other.
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. And look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him before
and I
the
was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in a
point.
total
Don't make
world
it
of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with your personal attacks.
Come find out again.
Make whatever point you want. Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know anything.
You attacked me personally.
You're so deluded.
All right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able
books.
to finish a thought.
How many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got it wrong.
Say
you were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just finish a goddamn thought ever on this show?
No, not if you're personally. I admitted I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
By the way, it's Juan Williams. I said Larry Elder. It's Juan Williams who's on the end there, and this is just the beginning. These are Democrats, all of them. All of them are Democrats on this panel. I don't know. Piers Morgan's British, so we'll just assume he's a Democrat. But you got Cenk Uygur, who's from the Young Turks. You've got this Alan Lichtman guy, who I guess is technically not a Democrat or Republican, but he said that Kamala Harris was going to win, so I'm just going to throw him in with the Democrats. Harry Sisson, who is this creepy little kid who gets paid by Joe Biden to just write the most ridiculous things online and come up with the most preposterous TikToks you've ever seen. And then Juan Williams, who was one of the lone Democrats that CNN ever let sit on any of their panels. Although I think Fox News let sit on one of their panels, but I don't even know if he's still there. But listen, it's just heating up.
Can I just say, it's great to see you Democrats all getting along so well.
Who taught you manners?
It's lovely to see a post-election harmony as you all come together again.
Hey, Alan, right now. Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice, so can you just shut up for a second? And let someone who knows what they're doing.
You're so right, Piers.
You're so right.
We're so unified right now. You want, I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't boost
blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser? Okay, can I just give the correct answer for once?
Okay, this is what's happening. When you lose, you start pointing fingers. They're not coming together. They're not trying to figure out. They're all attacking each other. They're all like, yeah, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, you're a loser. No, you need to drink a big glass of shut up juice, which is one of the lamest attacks. I mean, like, I was there in 2016 when Cenk Uygur spat on Alex Jones at the RNC. That was interesting to watch. This is just like a bunch of schoolyard nitwits yelling at each other and calling each other names because they're all a bunch of losers. And Piers Morgan, God love him, is sitting there just drinking his coffee, or, well, let's be honest, it's probably tea, because he's British, and the British people, they like to drink the tea. That's why we threw it all in the harbor. Take that, Brits. But there's going to be a lot more of this. This is just the beginning. You're going to start seeing Democrats attacking each other over and over and over again. Just before the show started, I was watching The View, not because I like The View, but because they were doing exactly this. They were attacking each other and yelling at each other and pointing the fingers and trying to figure out who's to blame, because they just can't believe that Donald Trump is the president. They just can't believe that the Democrats lost. They just can't believe that Matt Gaetz is going to be the Attorney General of the United States of America. And the only person in the Democrat Party who's having a good day is Joe Biden, because it's his birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, yeah, happy 82nd birthday, Joe Biden. Listen, before we get out of here, the Untold Story of Christmas, the classic from the original Mark Kaye show when we used to read it every year, now written down and published and shipped to your door, is available at the untoldstoryofchristmas.com. A beautiful story, a beautiful book, something that I'll be sharing again later on with you. But don't let Christmas sneak up on you. You know how Black Friday goes. It's coming up in a week or so. You want to get your stuff in early. So go to the untoldstoryofchristmas.com, get your book. And of course, make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, to the YouTube, to the Rumble, wherever you happen to be watching, because we want to make sure that we continue to grow this audience, that every single day we bring you what you need. We bring you the information, the inspiration. We tell you what's going on in the world. We tell you what's going right and what's going wrong. We tell you who's attacking who and who needs to be put in their place. If you need to get up and help out, we'll let you know. If you need to make a phone call to your senator or your congressperson, we'll let you know. If your senator or congressperson is working in a way that you maybe don't approve of, we're going to let you know all of that too. We are going to be the watchdogs of the government. No longer is the mainstream media responsible for that because they've shown themselves to be irresponsible. They've shown themselves to be the lapdogs of the government. So now it's up to us, and that's what I'm going to do every single day. So subscribe, like, share this, and tune in every single day, noon Eastern, 11 Central, as we bring you, like I said, information, entertainment, inspiration, enlightenment, everything you need to be armed to the teeth. So whenever they come and attack, we can fight back and we can win and we can save the Republic. All right. See, I'm done.